Hi, I'm Brenda Garard. I am the CEO of 180 Comprehensive Veteran Services, where we make it happen. We educate, we advocate, and we empower the veterans and their family members to pursue their veteran benefits and know that their service counts. Today with us, I have a veteran here that is going to introduce himself.
My name is Antero Graham. Spent 4 years in the Air Force.
How did you come to know about 180?
Through a friend. One of my best friends, I was having a conversation with him regarding the lack of service that I was receiving, and so he recommended you. I think you attended one of our events, and that has been a rewarding introduction.
And so when you say the lack of help that you were receiving, what do you mean? Do you mean from the VA? Do you mean from another company?
I think one of the things that we as veterans fail to do is remember that we did serve our country, right? And that a lot of times, I would say for over the past 15 years or so, or even longer, I had good insurance. So I did not concern myself with that of being in the service and getting the benefits of their such. But my significant other said, "Hey, wait a minute, and you concurred with her in that fact that we signed a dotted line to provide cover for our country and for the citizens of our country." And so, previously I had a firm out of Florida that filled out the paperwork but didn't provide the coaching. I would say that the specialty about you and your organization is you're there to answer our questions regularly, and you coach us through it. You coach us through what the experience is going to be. You give us a time frame. At least for me, you say, "Hey, Graham, I need to have X done by this time," and you hold me accountable for that. And we as veterans want that kind of attention, because again, when we're in our service, our job is to protect this country.
And thank you for making that point about being a veteran and, your job is to protect our country. One of the highlights that I like to make to veterans is that if you can go and serve this country, why can't you serve yourself? And so, that was one of the things that we discussed early on and that I promote greatly across the board to all veterans, whether they're with 180 or not. Even if I just meet veterans on the street and I ask them, "Well, how are you looking with your benefits?" It's like, "Well, no, I'm okay." And so as the same with you, I would like to inform you as well as veterans that, are you really okay? If you had some service-connected disabilities, it is your responsibility to serve yourself. Just like when you're on a plane and the airline stewardess tells you that in case of emergency, if you have a person that's disabled or a child, the first thing that happens is when the mask drops, you put it on yourself. Well, that's where you are now. Now it's time to put the mask on yourself.
Well, hopefully you'll be using this documentary to reach out to those who are caregivers of veterans. Where the spouses and the caregivers of will say, "Hey, I just saw this video about Ms. Garard and her organization. We've been struggling trying to do the paperwork. There's somebody that actually is willing to come help and do that." I think that message needs to get out, because I talked to my brother and as he went through his, and it was like, do I have the time to effectively monitor the documents? I don't. But to have an organization, to have a relationship like I have with you, where you're like, "Hey, Graham, this just popped up. We need to handle this."
Okay. So I would also like to ask you, how has working with 180 and me and the staff, how has that impacted you and your life, your life and the life of your family?
Increased it dramatically because I know you care. To a point where we've done some community events together, and that's huge. It's about relationships. It's about I'm willing to trust you and your organizations not only with my personal data, but also my personal being, because and that's huge for me that trust factor, because you see so many things in the media where folks have been used or taken advantage of, and I would say that is so not here. Where here you've been very forthcoming. You've answered my calls throughout the evenings. Sometimes on the weekend when I call, you answer as well. And I would say that customer service is awesome. And I would ask that you maintain that. But I think folks looking in and listening in, I would say that would be the piece, that you have the customer satisfaction. You also explain in minute detail what we're faced with. I think your desire to, your loss of your husband, the motivation to actually start this business, it's a blessing. And so to my family, you asked the question, it's been a blessing to my family because now I'm getting results.
Speaking of results, how long has it taken you to get results from 180?
Oh, Jesus. I would say previously to 180, it took me over 10 to 15 years to get 20%. I met you a year ago, and now I'm at 90. So I would say the fact that we were able to connect, the fact that we've been persistent, the fact that we have been diligent and we're being responsive, I think has made the difference. And so my wish, my prayer is that you're able to reach more people through this mechanism, this media, and others that you attempt to do.
So lastly, I would like to ask you, how do you feel that the education, the advocacy, and the empowerment from 180 has impacted your life?
Even though I'm a scholar, well-educated, I don't know the nuances of the military veteran process. That's why I relied on you, and I'm relying on you. That's why I referred, I think I'm up to past 10 people to you, because they've called or I've talked to them in conversation and they've been struggling. And so to see another veteran struggling to get benefits, it's disheartening. And so I told you, anytime you needed me for whatever reason, I owe you, my family owes you and your organization, because I was so frustrated with the process with a larger firm that my needs weren't getting met.
I said lastly, but then one other thing that I would like to ask you is, as far as your, as we're going through the process and we're talking about your service-connected disabilities or your injuries that you sustained in service and how they're affecting your life now, is there anything that you've learned new in my explaining how these injuries impact your life that you recognize now that you didn't know before?
You've helped me connect the dots. You've helped me to, be able to ask to my, medical providers additional questions. I'm able to now review my medical records clearer, right? Versus, prior to me going after my benefits, I kind of was that kind of guy that says, you know what, I'm all right. I don't need to worry about that. And that's not the case. And I'm not using this or looking at this as something as to benefit anyone other than my family. I want a good quality of life. My wife tells me that I better not go anywhere for the next 30, 40 years. And I start doing the math, and that's a lot of years. But I would say to you, thank you for caring for not only me, but for the veterans that you serve and those that are still on the fence and trying to find a spot. I would say thank you. And my prayer again is that you're able to reach the folks you need to reach, because we've been taught, especially as men, that it's okay. We don't need those things until we are at a point where we can no longer take care of ourselves and it's too late. Right. And so I would say, being that advocate, please continue doing that. Please continue educating, because even though I may have the degrees, I don't understand a lot of the basic things that are necessary to keep me healthy. And as I go to doctor visits, I think I got one coming up next week. You're like, hey, let's have a conversation prior to that meeting, so that the questions that we've talked about, you can relay that to that particular physician or doctor clearly. And I think that's helpful to kind of, okay, how do I have a migraine. What does that mean? I have my back hurts. What does that mean? Is it something I can do? And again, you've been that coach. I would say probably your title to me, as I relate to you, is my veteran coach. How do I work with the system that I used to serve?
Thank you for bringing up the point about the education, because one of the things that we pride ourselves at 180 that we do with the veterans is we definitely let them know this is not about the money. This is not about the VA benefits. This is about you being a healthy veteran yourself, for yourself and for your family. And again, I say all the time, if you can go and serve this country for people that may not even like you for the color of your skin, they may not like you because of your gender, they may not like you because you're pro-military, but yet you still stood and you fought and you defended, those people. And so now it's time for you to serve yourself with that same loyalty, that same dedication, and that same honor. So I would like to personally thank you for helping keep me and my family safe, along with your brother in arms that are my family members as well. And thank you for following, the suggestions that we give you about taking care of yourself. And I would just like to say this, please, when you get information from 180 about things that you can do to better your life, please follow that. We had a veteran that came in that had issues with uncontrollable high blood pressure. I practically begged him to go get your blood pressure checked, take your medication, go to the doctor. I called him repeatedly, and when I realized that he just wasn't doing it, then I moved on to the next vet. Well, he contacted me a year later. He had a hypertensive stroke. He's paralyzed, partially paralyzed on one side. And the first thing he said to me was, I wish I had listened. So thank you for listening, and thank you for following our suggestions and helping you become a healthier vet.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the veteran?
So I would say, again, trust is key for me, and I'm sure trust is key for you guys that are listening in. I would say that every challenge, Brenda and I have debated over and over about processes, and I would tell you again, I've put my life in her hands. And so to the point where my wife is like, hey, Brenda, thank you, because of helping me not get what I deserve, but the fact that my granddaughter, who we've taken custody of, says, Appa, I want you to be here when I grow up. And so thank your organization for giving me the tools to fight with, and that's the educational piece, so that I can be here when she gets older and be able to see her grow and her blossom.
And walk her down the aisle.
I ain't gonna go there.
You can do it, Dan.
No, I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. But I would say again, building a friendship, and it's, I know a lot of vets are gonna try to call every day. My recommendation would be is you tell folks exactly what you need of them, when you need it, and let them follow. If they follow it, you will have quick results like I got. If you don't follow it, it will be truncated and longer than expected. So I would say follow directions and know that she's going to fuss.
And thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
really appreciate your
Thank you.
business and your friendship.
Yes, ma'am.